What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Boleros. Sam here with the Sultan of Sando, Mr. Gablim, and most importantly, the
He's
returning
back!
Maui
Nakabalik din.
Yap. Welcome back,
Nakabalik.
Maui. Kamusta naman ang, 3-week na bakasyon mo sa Europe? Highlight of
Masaya.
your trip.
Masaya. Anytime you get to spend time with your family, I think that's the most important thing, diba? When you travel and go around the world. German food is not good. As I've said off air.
Hindi ko alam kung sasabihin mo eh. Hot take! German food is not good!
Is that a hot take? Comment down below. German food is not
If you
good.
go to Germany, don't expect a gastronomic experience, diba? Expect to drink a lot and enjoy the different types of beer you can taste, but the food wasn't spectacular.
Okay.
Hot take. Yung
Hot
mga
take,
may-
comment
may-
down
yung-
below. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree with Maui?
What are you talking
Baka may
about?
mga listeners tayo from Germany. Comment down below naman dyan. But hopefully, that's not the only hot take that we're going to hear from Mr. Maui up today. Our topic for today, since medyo slow news day pa rin tayo sa UAAP, and malapit na ang UAAP. It's almost August. I think the UAAP will start in September. So we want to do our usual ballers and boleros, but this time we're going to do ballers and boleros of the preseason. So the entire preseason, sino ba ang mga ballers or big winners natin, or sino yung mga boleros or losers of the preseason. Yeah, that's it. Anything to say before we
sakto
start?
to, Sam, kasi we're gonna start ramping up na for the UAP season. You'll see more episodes from us. Kasi, you know, maraming preps, you know, to get the fans ready, to get our listeners ready, and to get us ready. Yung masakit lang being a UAP fan is the season only lasts for around 3 months. And then
Yeah,
for the
three months.
for the other 9 months, para starve tayo for UAAP action. Kahit anong preseason na tournament or small pocket tournament yung papanoorin natin. That's the sad part of being a UAAP fan, no?
That's true. So malapit na. So don't worry. Season 88 is just around the corner. Okay, let's get started. Let's start with the good. Let's talk about our ballers of the preseason. Maui, na-miss na ng mga tao yung boses mo. Kaya ikaw muna, unahin na namin ikaw. Sino bang isang baller of the preseason mo?
Actually,
Naka-blue yan. Alam na.
Naka-blue. We're gonna talk about the maroon side. Actually, may nag-comment on your previous episode. I saw it. Wala tayong recap on the Phil Oil Championship, but I would have to say that the UP Fighting Maroons defeating LaSalle, getting that third straight Phil Oil Championship a bit easily against NU in the finals. I'm sure everyone wanted a LaSalle versus NU final, LaSalle versus UP finals, but that did not materialize. That did not happen. But I would say third straight championship in the Phil Oil Championship for UP. It's the first time, I think, in the history of the Phil Oil
Yep,
that
tama.
a team has garnered 3 straight championships. Not even the mighty Ateneo 4-peat or Ateneo 5-peat was able to do that in the past. So that just shows yung consistency ng program ng UP, diba? They've been consistently in the finals in the UAAP. They've consistently been dominant in the preseason. A bit maybe this preseason we've seen some cracks. But at the end of the day, they were able to get the title in the biggest preseason cup in the preseason. So I would have to say the UP Fighting Maroons. Specifically, I have to shout out si Scary Jerry Abadiano. I think in big games.
I told you there was a reason he was on my list of top 5 wings. I told you.
Diba? Si Scary Jerry Abadiano has been, I think, better than advertised. Maybe what we expected from Alarcon, we're gonna get from Abadiano. I think he's making a big case as a two-way player. Maybe he can crack, maybe he can make a lineup abroad if he continues to play this way as a two-way player, di ba? It's getting more and more common that we get point guard, shooting guards who don't have to be playmakers, but are good on defense, have an outside shot, does the dirty work. So si Abadiano really continued to surprise, and I think there's a reason why he was hitting those big shots for UP in previous off seasons. And for that reason, he's finally, becoming more consistent on the offensive end. And maybe what we expected from Alarcon will get from Abadiano this season. I think he has locked yung playing time niya, even with that deep UP lineup.
I'm so glad that you mentioned si Scary Jerry Maui because he was on my short list of ballers of the preseason / off season. Because as you said, what we hope to see from Harold Alarcon, we are seeing from Jerry Abadiano, and I'm pleasantly surprised. And that's part and parcel. My frustration with Harold is that Jerry is the one stepping up as the. Actually, you can make the case he's been for majority of the preseason. He's been the number one option on offense, the number one clutch scorer, the number one playmaker. Si Remogat, aside from that last 2 threes in the Lasal game, he's struggled for majority of the preseason, hasn't found his groove yet. His defense is not up to par with the rest of the team. Si Scary Jerry lang talaga yung on both ends has been consistently contributing maybe each and every game. Of course, not every game because sometimes they do blow out non-UAAP teams so hindi sila nakakalaro. And they did play 2 teams in Pinoy Liga, so definitely not every game. But in every big game, Scary Jerry comes out and plays and just performs, exceeding every expectation I had of him, especially on the offensive end. Grabe siya mag-take over. Very aggressive yung looking for the shot. We all know the defense is always gonna be there. But yung aggressiveness niya on offense, I've been so impressed. It's the aggressiveness and the calmness that I wanted to see from Harold, which I don't see from game to game. Maybe that will change once the season comes. But I had Jerry Abaniano as my minor baller of the preseason / off season. I think he's made the case to be at least one of UP's number 1 or number 2 options on offense. He's definitely gonna see majority of the minutes at shooting guard. Sammy.
I agree. I agree with yung points. I think you also have to mention, if we're talking about UP as a baller of the preseason, maybe this will not impact this coming season 88, pero season 89, UP is going to have VJ Pre, who I think was the biggest transfer of the preseason. I would even argue bigger than Mason Amos transferring last season from Ateneo to LaSalle. Impact-wise, I think VJ Pre will be huge for UP next year. They also got Rainier Maga, who transferred from UE to UP. Again, like, these guys are not going to play this season, pero these are huge recruits for season 89, especially when we know na guys like Harold Alarcon, Jerry Abadiano, all the NU kids are graduating this year. You really need to build for the future of UP, and I think VJ Pre is a good foundation for building.
Ready-made nga
building
daw,
a
diba?
future.
Yung sabi ni Bo.
Ready-made. Ready-made na yan. So, not just this season. I love what you guys said. The three-peat sa Phil Oil. Scary Jerry, I also had him sa top 5 guards ko. But even in season 89, this team looks scary. And they got the best recruit, I would say, of the preseason in VJ Pre. So definitely a baller for me. Gab.
Okay. For my pick of baller, and I'm gonna go a bit off the books here or off the rails, something I think we have forgotten. I'm picking the Ateneo Blue Eagles girls basketball team. I don't know if any of you guys remember. They
We
were
talked about this
Yes, we talked about this
sa chat natin.
sa chat natin. A lot of ridicule was put onto this girls basketball team. if you guys don't remember, just look at the scores from I think early on in January, February. This girls basketball team was being pounded on social media and by Athenians and non-Athenians alike. They were getting beaten by 100 points, 80 points. They were allowing quadruple doubles. Quadruple doubles
Quadruple doubles, yeah.
to opposing players. They were getting pounded and they were getting a lot of shit for it. But I'm giving them a baller of the preseason / off season because I just want to set some context of what this girls team had to go through. This is the first time Ateneo has joined a girls basketball competition in the UAAP. Ateneo
Hindi
has had
co-ed ang
girls.
Ateneo before.
Ateneo has had girls for like less than a decade. And for the majority of that decade, they've only had girls in senior high school. It's only just now that they're really integrating girls into their entire school system. We were in Ateneo and they were all boys. It's just been all boys, all males since forever. Ngayon lang talaga nagka-girls ang Ateneo. And the fact that these girls, in fact, from my sources, they even had to get a girl from grade 7 just to complete their roster. Ganun kahirap, ganun ka-shallow yung talent pool sa Ateneo ngayon. Because, honestly, there's no program. So these girls were the first. They were the first to represent Ateneo in a UAAP sanctioned competition. And they played every game. I give them points. But imagine yun, these girls knew they were gonna lose every game. I think from the first game pa lang, alam nila, they were no match for schools like UST, NU, LaSalle, long-established girls programs in high school basketball. Alam nilang matatalo sila. Alam nilang matatambakan sila, but they still came out and played every game. They could have easily said, ayaw na namin. Wala kaming pag-asa. I-default na namin ang lahat ng games for the rest of the season. We don't care anymore. We're just gonna lose. But they came out, they played. I think they've been the bravest team I've ever seen in UAP basketball. Just imagine the amount of trauma or the amount of pounding, the amount of shots to their ego that they had to take by losing by 100 points, losing by 80, diba? But yet they still came out each and every game and they represented the school. They were the first and they were brave enough to play, and go out there and try to compete. I've never been prouder of an Ateneo team as I was with those girls played in season 87. I do think they deserve their flowers and not ridicule. For those bashing them, just remember that these are children. So, medyo maghina-hinay kayo. Some of them are less than 15 or 15 years old. And come on. Yung let's do better.
Minors.
Yeah, they're minors. And I get it that the UAP is compelled to post the scores online, of course, to update. But to those bashing these girls, maya naman kayo sa mga sarili nyo because it's not right. I am part of the millennials and of the older generation, and I always hear from the older generation how soft and how much of a snowflake these younger generations are. But these girls showed me that no, they're not. They're pretty tough, and for going out there and trying to compete and representing the school, despite the huge odds against them, I give them a baller of the preseason. Sammy, Maui, I know we talked about this. Ngayon lang natin yung napag-uusapan on air.
I can't believe you also did not mention. I think they're ballers of the preseason because the girl who scored a quadruple double on them, I think, is moving to Ateneo, joining their team. That's a huge win for them in the preseason, diba? Na may na-scout pa silang additional players to build on their team. So I think that's good news for them, diba? Sabi mo nga, they're still they just started. They're still building their team. So being able to recruit players like her is a good start also for them.
Naawa na alumni ng Ateneo. But yeah, I don't think that they deserve any ridicule. As you mentioned, Gab, kakaiba that what they had to go to. Imagine going to a game knowing that you won't just lose, diba? It's not, you know that you're gonna be 0-14, but you're gonna be beaten down, diba? And you still fight. So yeah, very very good pick. We always want to highlight also the juniors and women's division in our podcast, and hopefully they get better. Diba? We'll see what happens in the next coming season.
They're just a start. I'm sure in the coming years, more players will be discovered. They will get a program that have a budget, and I'm sure the Ateneo girls basketball team will be better. Just that now it's growing pains, and the fact that they went out there, this again, man, ang, ang hirap maglaro kung alam mo matatalo ka na eh. Kung alam mo tatambakan ka, ang hirap maglaro. I think you know this in competing in basketball games. Diba, yung pangkalaban mo, yung puro varsity yung kabilang team, alam mo matatalo ka eh, diba? Ang hirap yung maglaro. Yung you see the score, you're down by 30. Man, that's hard. And the fact na hindi sila sumuko, I tip my cap to them. Anyway, Sammy, your pick.
Okay, moving on. My baller of the preseason. And yung keyword dito na tinignan ko is preseason eh, di ba? Baller of the preseason. I'm going with the Adamson Soaring Falcons. This is...
Oh, that was my pick. Sakto! Galing mo!
Ako rin, nasa picks ko rin yun.
Sinabi ko na
Specifically one player.
Sige, so I want you to get into that because I'm just going through Adamson in general, but I told you guys I'm never going to doubt Adamson again, and I think this preseason was very good for them. First of all, they beat UAAP quality teams in NU and UST to become champions in big preseason leagues, not just any preseason league, diba? They beat NU in Pinoy Liga. Although super low scoring game, they kept NU under 50 points, way under what we were expecting. They also beat UST recently in Asia Basket. So it's not like they won these leagues against random teams, diba? NU and UST are two of the top teams that could potentially be contending for a Final Four spot. So you have to give credit where credit is due. Adamson beat these two legit teams from the UAAP. Second, I think they were able to finally recruit all of their junior players, diba? From going 0-4 last year, I think they went 7 of 7 this
7
year.
of 7,
Tama ba,
yes.
Gab? 7 of 7. And a lot of promising players from their juniors team naglaro for them nung preseason. Guys like even like not well-known guys, diba? Ako first thing that comes to mind like sina Tumaneng and si Alan Perez because I just couldn't stand the Mario Barasi minutes the past few seasons. So at least you have like younger guys na that you can play na may potential for Adamson. You also have your stars continuing to develop this season, diba? So you still have sina sino yung shooter nila na kompetente? Matt Erolon and
si Renzo Competente.
Renzo Competente. I think have been very solid. So I think Competente specifically could have like really could get good minutes this coming season. So I think overall Adamson it's been a solid preseason for them. I think they have promising young stars mixed with their solid core
Huwag mo
of
kalimutan si Ron
veterans.
Zone.
Of Run Zones din. I've mentioned them before. Tama ha. Buti pinaalala mo. Run Zones din. I've mentioned them before. I've been impressed. Lalo na si Austin Run Zone. I think he can give them quality minutes. So, I think if you're an Adamson fan, you're happy with how the preseason turned out. Siguro the one thing na not looking so good for me is si Pomelo Ball. News about him supposedly joining UP. Considering joining UP na in the seniors division. So that's not good news. But that's for next season. So at least for this preseason, big win for Adamson. Big win. Maui, sorry. Sino yung player na i-mention mo?
Alam na natin yan, yung mga considering to join UP. Ang level of certainty dyan, nasa 80% na. But joking aside, I think what's good about Adamson is you see yung nagtatranscend yung seniors and young guns nila. When you talk about UAAP, it's about establishing 'di ba, a culture, establishing a system that can withstand yung graduating of your top players. And I think Adamson has done pretty well in the past despite losing sila Stimosa, 'di ba, their best player. But I think I have to shout out si Earl Medina. 'Di ba? This guy looks like a future UAAP superstar. He was able to win
superstar then, yeah.
He was able to win an MVP award, a finals MVP award in the preseason. He doesn't look like a rookie. I like his size, I like his aggressiveness, I like his versatility. I think he has a lot of potential. I think the main thing right now is Adamson has to do a good job of keeping him. Kasi if I'm sure that other teams...
na tayo.
I'm sure with what we've seen so far in the preseason alone, not even the UAAP season, other teams are looking at him. So my hope is that he continues to play for Adamson in the near future and in his own UAAP career. Diba? Kasi we want parity, but I think this guy has future superstar written on him. He has that swag. He has that confidence, and you don't feel that he is a rookie. That's very rare, and that's what separates usually players from becoming solid role players into superstars in the UAAP.
I love, Sammy, na sa mouth mo nang galing na yung Adamson Soaring Falcons are a baller of the preseason. Because I had them, diba? I did name a girls basketball team as my baller. But in terms of men's basketball, seniors basketball, I did have Adamson on the top of my list as winners. Ballers of the preseason. Well, as you said, Sammy, 2 championships. So, 2 major championships in
against
two
UAAP
major
schools.
Yeah. Beating NU in a grinded out game and locking up UST to win the Asia Basket International Invitational or something like that. I think they went undefeated throughout the entire tournament. So 2 major championships in the preseason for Adamson. Plus, you said it yourself. We had them as a bolero last offseason for not keeping their young talent. This season, they kept all their young talent. So I think we have to give them props for that. Also, it wasn't just keeping young talent. It was addressing needs. I think we talked about this in our If You Were the Coach segment right after season 87. Sabi natin, Adamson has to get bigger, especially behind yung Cedric Manzano and Ojarikre, because Mario Barassi was graduating. Mario Barassi was the only big off the bench for Adamson for majority of season 87. But now they're so big. They have so many options. Diba? You have OJ at center, and now si Cedric Manzano is sliding down to power forward. He sometimes still plays center. Pero behind them, you have Jairet Tumaneng, you have Allen Perez, 2 young centers. You have Kobe De Mesana, who I think has lost some minutes
ng playing time.
Yeah, but in the recent championship in Asia Basket, he was now playing power forward, which I think that has to be his position now. I don't think he's gonna get minutes at center. Kung i-compare mo siya to Maneng and si Allen Perez, he's very thin compared to those two. I think the reason why si Coach Nash loves si Tumaneng at center because he's a big, solid dude. Ang laki niyang tao, and he's even si PJ Palacelo has trouble moving him out of the way, and that's PJ already. He's a very big dude. So that's the reason why I think si Tumaneng is gonna get the primary backup minutes along with Perez. Si Kobe, sana it works out for him at power forward. I hope he can develop his skills because sobrang nawalan siya ng playing time nung dumating yung dalawang junior centers. And other than that, si as Maui said, si Earl Medina, despite the departures of guys like Royce Mantua, si Jan Calisay, si Joshua Yero, no, guys who were in the rotation for Adamson last season, they were able to get deeper. They're now a deeper team, more so than last season. Deeper and more talented and younger. So, ako, big win for Adamson. Si Renzo Competente, I think is gonna, you sabi mo nga sa amin, I think is gonna play sort of a playmaking role, much like what Royce Mantua did yung last season.
Yeah.
Si Earl Medina hasn't shown much playmaking or off the dribble game. More of jump shooting yung kanyang strength. But I think that will develop. But ngayon pa lang, I can see the confidence in Earl Medina. Same with Maui. I do hope he stays with Adamson. Kasi as a rookie pa lang, may role na siya. And imagine how that role will grow in the coming seasons and how his game will grow. So I do hope he stays. Si Matt Erolon is looking more and more like the main perimeter option. So I love that. Adamson, I think, is still gonna contend for the Final Four slot. I don't know how the power rankings of Maui are gonna shape up, but we'll talk about that next
Teaser.
week. But I
Spoiler
think
alert.
Adamson has a legit shot. I'm not sure where Maui's gonna rank Adamson, pero man, they look good. Yun lang. Yes, Adamson, sorry Falcons. Thank you, Sammy.
Is this the year that Adamson will actually make it to the finals? Not just the Final Four. Yun yung big question natin for Adamson.
Kahit kahit overplay-in man lang.
Overplay.
Kahit mag-3 seed sila sa amin, I think.
Seed, that's a big win.
Oh,
That's a big
it's a
win.
big win.
That's a big win. Yeah. Okay, so yun, they are definitely. I'm happy you guys also picked Adamson. I think si Earl Medina Maui, you summed it up perfectly. Does not look like a rookie. Yun siguro masasabi ko din doon. So winners of the preseason, but we'll see. We'll see in season 88 how it pans out. But hopeful for Adamson and the Adamson fans. Okay. I'm sure you guys have other bowlers, pero let's talk about Boleros muna. And let's start with you, Maui. Sino ang isang bolero of the preseason mo?
Actually, I was thinking about this. It's hard to judge kasi teams, diba, in the preseason. But so I had two teams, and somehow just before we went to Boleros, I realized I think the biggest Boleros for me so far the preseason is the season 87 rookie class.
Wow,
Outside of
that's a
Jake.
good pick. That's a good pick. I didn't think about that.
I have to shout out kasi 'di ba grabe yung hype. Grabe yung hype. These were all Gilas people. I think only Jacob Baila has really cemented himself with some impact. All the others are questionables. Mahmoud, you don't know what's gonna happen. Konov is out of the country. Jaden Jones is not even getting consistent playing time with FEU. So it's a bit concerning. Si Jared Bahay has been a bit underwhelming, I would say, sa preseason. I guess versus expectations. 'Di ba? Si Jared Bahay kasi everybody expected him to be an LA Tenorio type of point guard. I mean, there's a reason why UP and Ateneo were in the sweepstakes. But I would think that very underwhelming so far, despite given all the hype. Even si Asido hasn't really had that much of an impact for UST. So let's see. Maybe they can prove me wrong. Maybe when we start season 88, maybe when we rank up, maybe some of these guys surprise us. But so far, it's been a bit underwhelming for me. Diba? They even had an all-star magazine cover page featuring these guys. So,
nalala ko yun.
That's how hyped we were with this class, but so far it hasn't really materialized. Maybe si Baila can save this class and become the next star for UP.
VJ Pre. Baila and VJ Pre.
VJ Pre. Yeah, si VJ Pre, we won't be seeing him this season. So I guess yung highlight is more to this class. But hopefully si Baila also develops para we have two players to save that class.
Yeah, I'm still bullish on Jared Bahay. Again, his shooting struggles are very well documented. We've called him out multiple times here on the podcast. I'm still pretty bullish. His playmaking is still top notch. I think he led all rookies in assists, was top 5 in assists for the entire season 87. He just has to fix his shooting. And in a coach tab system, I don't think you're gonna find guys who score like 15 plus points a game. You know, that's not the type of system that Coach Tab runs. But I still believe in Jared Bahay. I still love his composure. I still love how unrattled he is, and I still love that during crunch time, they still give the ball to Jared Bahay. Diba? Throughout his struggles, even most recently, excuse me, I think in their game against San Beda, their first one, in I think in yung in Iloilo, in the waning seconds when I think the game was tied or Ateneo was up by 1, Coach Tab gave the ball to Jared Bahay. I think that tells you all you need to know about the confidence that Coach Tab has in JB. His shooting is still has to improve. He's improved defensively this offseason. I think that's has gone under the radar. He's giving more effort defensively. Not yet on the same level as an Ian Espinosa, his backup, but he's definitely trying. He's definitely a more decent defender compared to season 87 when he was just letting people go by him. So ako still bullish. Si Jacob Baila, I love what I've seen. The problem lang para sa akin is that there are too many mouths to feed in UP. So maybe not this season, Maui. Baka season 89. Kasi this season 88, there's Alarcon, there's Abadiano, there's Torres, there's Fortea, there's Briones, si Coronel,
Remogan.
and si Remogan. Ang dami. There are too many mouths to feed on UP. I don't think we're gonna see the statistical leap from Jacob Baila, but I do love the skill set. He was the KQ stopper for one game, di ba? So that goes to show you his upside. Sammy.
Yeah, nagulat ako sa pick na yun by Maui, but it's been underwhelming. I think yung sinabi mo, it's underwhelming given the hype that it had last season when we heard all about these parang top recruits, diba? Like all of these guys, most of these guys played.
Breaking news lahat.
Breaking news lahat. We had
Nag-podcast pa tayo for each one.
We even dedicated the podcast to pick which team best fits yung
Konov.
Si Konov, 'di ba? Where Konov fits best, ganyan. So, I think there was a lot of hype, admittedly. And that's our fault also. Nag-dedicated podcast din tayo about them. But you know, to your point, Maui, 1 year pa lang. It's only been 1 year. So, may time pa naman for a lot of these kids to grow and develop. Fortunately, si Alex Konov decided to go abroad, diba? So, hindi na natin siya makikita. But maybe that's where he'll grow and develop and become a better player. And he played for Gilas already. So, we want this guy who's like 6'7", to get better because, Gab, we talked about it sa Gilas episode. We need big guys. We need bigger guys on our team and younger guys. So,
Shout out again to Japet Aguilar.
Shout out to Japet Aguilar. Bayani ka, sir. We're still hoping for these guys to develop kasi this is supposed to be the future of Philippine basketball. May oras pa naman. I mean, a lot of guys broke out of their shell late. Marami naman ding mga late bloomers. Guys like Raba Alhussein.
Development is not linear. So, hindi naman dahil yung each and every year, yung each player yung gets better. Malay mo, sa 5th year lang pala yung mag-improve ng isang player or mag-break up. Someone like Louis Vigil. Si Louis Vigil, nung super senior pa lang siya, doon lang siya naging star. The rest of his UST career, role player lang siya for the majority. So, yeah. My pick for Bolero of the off-season / preseason, it has to be the UAAP board slash the UAAP in general. Because the VJ pre-transfer, I think, is a slap in the face to the UAAP and the UAAP board. We all said this last season when they implemented the new residency rule, that this rule was stupid and that it was not gonna affect the stars who really want to transfer. And with VJ Pre transferring, it made them look even more stupid for implementing this rule because it obviously does not work. And it did not work in yung for the situation of VJ Pre. He still transferred to UP, which was what they were trying to prevent. And we all said this was not the way to go because for multiple reasons. You can look back at our podcast, and I don't know how the UAP board is going to react. Uh, because probably it's going to happen again. It happened with VJ Pre. It's probably going to happen again with someone, whoever it may be. Maybe it's Earl Medina from Adamson. Maybe it's Koji Benaflor from USC, yung transferring now to a UP or a LaSalle. Diba? The UAP board was just made to look like fools. They were. Sorry to say. When the VJ Pre transfer was announced and was confirmed that he was going to the defending champion, the UP Fighting Maroons, uh, they were made to look stupid. The rule does not work, and now it's all on them now. What will they do? Because they tried to address it. This was the point of having the rule. They didn't want these transfers to happen. We talked about this. They made the rule right after the Remogat and the Baclaan transfers. They wanted to prevent this from happening, and they still have not prevented it. Who knows what they're gonna do next? Uh, Maybe they limit the number of transferees yung per school. They could do that, or they can ban transfers yung altogether. Who knows? Sammy, this is the next
What's
step
the next step? Yeah, what's the next step? Correct.
because hindi na gumana yung kanilang measure from last season eh. So what are they gonna do next? They obviously think that it's a problem. So what now? What's the next step for the UAP board? Is if this continues, they're definitely gonna do something. And for the UAP in general, we talked about this Maui. I think when the VJ Pre transfer happened, it sucks for league parity. Uh, FEU was an up and coming program surrounded by centered around VJ Pre, and we all said that a championship and title contention might be coming to their way because of their young course centered around VJ Pre. And now VJ Pre goes to one of the strongest teams in the league. Diba? To the defending champions. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. There's a reason why the PBA is hated by a lot of Filipino basketball fans now. I know a lot of people who have quit the PBA, and I'm one of them. Because it sucks to see all the young talent over and over again go to this go to the top teams. It just sucks. And the UAP is definitely a bolero of the preseason and of the off season. I'm scared of what the UAP might do because, as we all know, the UAP does not like to address the actual problem. They do want to punish student athletes, so I'm scared for what they might do based on what happened this off season slash preseason. Maui, Sammy.
Very good pick. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I just wanted to say lang then. I think you made a good point. Just wanted to insert one of my boleros then was FEU, and I was gonna say it wasn't entirely their fault. Because VJ Pre left, and it was a very promising young team. We were very excited. Fans were excited. We were expecting, tama ka nga, diba? We were expecting a championship with a team led by VJ Pre, pero that's not going to happen. So, it would have been a more exciting product. Yun yung, I think, what we were trying to say na kung may parity, it would have been more exciting for us to watch the UAP. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Anyway, Maui, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, very good point, Sam. Di ba? Kasi we talked about in our previous podcast yung top UAP finals. And, di ba? And we were surprised to see that one of the most watched finals UAP games were not even Lasal, Ateneo, UP. Di ba? So I think that just shows that it could be a better product for league parity. I think one of the things I want to say is hopefully they do address it. Sana hindi naman sila ma'am. I think Gabby's right. It looks like that. Well, it doesn't look like it. It is. It doesn't work. The new rule doesn't work. It is just causing havoc into to players who need to transfer, not players who want to transfer, diba? So hopefully they revisit the rule. Hopefully they talk to stakeholders, not just make up a crazy rule. Hopefully they talk to the players, hopefully they talk to the teams and come up with a better plan on how to address this issue. We don't want to end up like the PBA, where the finals, the culminating game is in the Phil Sports Arena. Diba?
Wow. May ganun pa. Yun na yung patama ka pamawi.
Shots fired.
Siyempre may patama tayo, di ba? I was a huge PBA fan growing up, and I don't really watch PBA that much anymore because of the parity, because of what's been happening. And I don't want that to happen to the UAAP. There are only two leagues that I watch basketball, yung talagang diehard, and it's the UAAP and the NBA. It used to be that I used to watch the PBA, but with what's been happening, and I think that's reflected when they had to transfer to Phil Sports Arena and couldn't even fill up Phil Sports Arena for the culminating game of the Philippine Cup. I think that tells you the whole story. And I don't want that to happen to the UAAP. The UAAP board has to be more forward-looking. We want to have fans from all schools, not just from one or two schools. Diba? We want league parity. And hopefully they'll be able to address this issue. And I think the best thing that they can do is really to talk to the stakeholders, not just make up a rule behind closed doors and surprise everyone. And really look up not just in basketball but all sports. So hopefully we find a way to address this issue. We want a lot of teams to contend. We know that when the smaller teams get to the finals, it can be a big draw also. So we don't have to focus on only the top teams, only the top funded teams right now. So let's see.
I actually like what you said, Sammy, na you had FEU as a bolero of the preseason. But yeah, they played some good games, but overall, you see that maybe the Final Four is not going to be in their sights for this season. They've looked rough in some games, diba? And that's sad for me because I was pulling for this team to actually contend and build on what they had last season. They almost made the
Very
Final Four.
promising. Last
Yeah,
season
they
was
almost
very
made the
promising.
Final Four yung last season. And you look at them now, parang madidishearten ka na lang, parang, they're probably gonna be in the bottom half or even lower in the team standings just because of how rough they are and top heavy. Mo Konate is now alone in the front court. They're now starting Aaron Baguno, and oh my goodness, they're starting Aaron Baguno. So that tells you all you need to know. Sayang, hindi naman starting from scratch, but they have been their upside has definitely been cut. VJ Pre was their guy. Yung VJ Pre was their ceiling breaker. And now their floor is now way lower. Their floor just went down just because, and their ceiling has gone down just because VJ Pre had transferred to UP. Anyway, Sammy, your pick for Bolero.
Okay, my pick for Bolero, I mentioned FEU. I want to talk about another school. I'm going to pick the UST FSAs as my Boleros of the preseason. Mo Tongkara was definitely one of the best FSAs from last season. Obviously, he decided to go pro and leave the UST program. And it was a good bounce back for UST to get Peter Osang. Well, they already had Peter Osang there and he performed really, really well sa preseason. In fact, he fits the system of UST, yung fast-paced system ng UST pretty well. Bakit bolero yung FSAs ng UST? Kasi there are too many FSAs and they all sort of deserve a spot in the team. So you have Peter Osang who has been amazing this entire preseason for them. They recently recruited Collins Akoe, who you would think is probably a lock for UST as their FSA for this coming season 88. But is he really a lock? Because Peter Osang, like you can argue Peter Osang would be a better fit for this team this coming season. And Gab, I think you've said this a number of times already. Tapos hindi lang yun, 'di ba? After they lost si Tongkara, they didn't just play Osang. They also had si Kumbay. Although he'll be eligible for season 88, but that's also like a very solid or decent FSA coming in for UST. And they also have Racine Kane from the juniors division. I think
He's injured though.
I think there was an article, article from the Versitarian that mentioned na he's injured. He's recovering from an ACL. So probably he's not eligible for this season. But again, there's only one slot for FSA. So someone's going to lose dun sa at least sa apat na yun. I think they have 2 more FSAs but not as prominent as the 4 guys that I mentioned. So UST, they've always had FSA problems the past few seasons. Lagi silang umaalis, nawawala.
Ngayon nag-overcompensate na sila sa amin.
Nag-overcompensate sila. Someone's going to lose out on that FSA.
More than one backup na.
Diba? But unlike the locals, yung 14 other roster spots, if you over-recruit your locals, your fill force, okay lang kasi you're fighting for 4 slots. This one, 1, 2, 10 FSAs, there's only one slot. There's only one slot for that. So, someone's going to lose out. And I feel bad for them. Especially, like, most probably it's going to be Peter Osang. So, that's going to be second straight year na he's not going to make the team. And I think he made a case for himself this season. Gab, I want to hear your thoughts kasi
I'm actually glad you brought this up because we could actually discuss some Collins Akoe. We did see him in action in the past week for UST in the Asia Basket Invitational
in
tournament.
the short shorts, by the way.
Yeah, in the very, very short shorts. I like the upside of Collins Akoe. Again, he played against a lot of NCAA teams, so they did not have an FSA, they did not have a legit center. Dominated those teams inside. I think had a 20-20 game there. As he should. But his limitations were also exposed, I think, in those games. Especially when it came to teams like Letran, Sandera. They lost those games, by the way, earlier in the tournament. They were exposing him. I think my concerns with Collins Akoe are warranted. He is pretty slow. He cannot switch on the perimeter. Unlike Peter Osang, they have switched their coverage to now drop coverage in most pick and rolls because they don't want Collins Akoe out there on the perimeter. In the paint, I love his upside. He has yung may angas din tong si Collins Akoe. He does not take your physicality lightly. If you hack him, he will throw an elbow at you. So I love his attitude, pare. I mean, if you go rewatch those games, he was getting hacked, he was getting grabbed by si Kevin Santos, yung from Letran, sina Celso, sina Bismarck Lina were grabbing him, smacking at him, and he was not taking that shit you lying down. He was gonna throw elbows, throw forearms. So obviously he's ready for the physicality, in my opinion, because a lot of his offense comes in the paint. He cannot hit anything from outside of 5 feet from the basket. His free throws suck. I mean, if he's gonna suit up for season 88, I think we have to start with a free throw watch for him, along with Precious Momoway, because
pababaan sila ng
who will be the more efficient.
Totoo, Maui. If you watch his free throw shooting, it's atrocious. It barely hits the rim at times. Minsan the front ng rim, sobrang inconsistent. So that's a weakness of him. It's just all in the paint. That's his strength. He guards the paint and he scores in the paint. Outside of that, he has nothing else. No, for now. But yeah, I don't know if he's probably gonna be the FSA, but I don't know if he's the right one. In my opinion, I do think si Peter Osang is still a better fit. I'm not convinced so far with the yung kahit na nandun yung monster yung double doubles niya against the NCAA teams, if I may add. So take it with a grain of salt. So he had the monster numbers, but I don't think he's the right fit for this UST team that loves to run. This team does not play defense. I don't know if you've noticed that, Sammy Maui. Itong UST team gave up 90 plus points to NU in Phil Oil. That's how atrocious their defense is.
Dahil pa lang doon, alam mo na.
90 points, ha?
Alam mo na.
90 points.
So, they're essentially playing like the Phoenix Suns of the 2000s. So that shows our age.
7 seconds or less.
The 7 seconds. Maui, this is how they play. They run and they shoot a ton of threes. And majority of the time, hindi pa kanila hinihintay si Collins ako yung makababa. Tumitira na sila. That's how fast-paced their offense is. So I don't think Collins Okoye is a fit here. There are times that they slow down and run their offense through Collins, which I think is a weird dynamic. Sometimes you play fast, but then you want to give it to Collins, so you wait for him. I'm not sure. I'm convinced that I still like you, Peter Osang, for this team with the way they play. Sami Maui.
Sorry, just to add,
sige, go.
So this is the Phoenix Suns with Shaq, basically, Gab. Yung with Collins Okoye, it's Phoenix with Shaq.
That's a good comparison. Ang galing.
Yung naalala ko eh. Sorry, Maui, you were saying.
Yeah, actually, very good point, Sam. Diba? I was just gonna say that they have, not naman Steve Nash level point guard in Fortsky Patrigao, but they have a point guard who thrives in the pick and roll. And when you have a big man like Collins Okoye who's not that mobile and who's better suited as a back to the basket player, I don't know, maybe si Peter Osang nga would be a better option as a slashing big, as a big who's more mobile than Okoye. But I think they probably spent a lot of money on Okoye and would probably go into that direction. But yeah, I would say I would have to agree na medyo under, not just yung FSA watch ng UST, but their preseason has been underwhelming versus, let's say, the likes of like NU or the likes of like more so Adamson. Diba? They should have been the Adamson of the preseason, winning those tournaments where UP and LaSalle did not participate or did not get to the finals. Diba? They should have been that team because we're talking about the number 3 team from last season, a team who people expect, I think the alumni expect to further get to another notch and get to twice to beat advantage. And so far, I don't think that we can say that they are close or even they're probably miles away from what LaSalle and UP are. Maybe you could say that they were able to beat UP, but with their consistency, with how they play, I don't know if they are actually a contender for next season. So that's something that we'll have to track in the preseason. I think when I read through social media, some people are actually getting frustrated that they don't play defense and that they throw so many 3-pointers, or some of them are ill-advised. So maybe they can work on their defense. Maybe they can work on their 3-point accuracy. So let's see where it lands for UST. But losing Mo Tongkara was a big thing. Kasi talagang perfect fit eh. Perfect fit for me. What he brought to the table and how he plays with Cabanero, how he plays with Padrigao. That's something that I don't think they can get with Osang and Okoye. He has that range eh. Diba? He has that range. He can stretch the floor. He plays pretty well in in pick and rolls. Sayang. I think that upside, that one more year playing with that core could have been probably the thing that gets UST to that twice a week advantage.
Good point. Um, we're almost hitting 1 hour, pero before we end, I guess just a quick rundown on your other honorable mentions for ballers and boleros. I want to start, for example, let's say, I think a school worth mentioning is Ateneo. We haven't seen much from them this preseason. Medyo tahimik sila, but I think Ateneo fans will say this is a lot better than last preseason. You cannot get any worse than that, I would say.
0-7 ba naman eh. No but up.
They did not win anything last season. I think what's important here is it gives Ateneo fans hope. Yung preseason na to gives Ateneo fans hope. They've addressed yung position of need, yung big man. They have Divine Adili, looks like a very solid FSA. Kimani Ladi has lived up to the hype so far this preseason. So at least they're winning some games. They haven't won all. Tinambakan sila ng Sambeda after beating Sambeda in a close fight. But again, I think this is a lot better than last season. If you're an Ateneo fan, you're happy. Coming from last season, that was the worst preseason ever. So any other picks for ballers or boleros?
Boleros ako. The UE Red Warriors. I cannot imagine what's going through all the UE Red Warriors fans and what trauma they're going through, because if you watch their team, like, who the hell are they playing? Like, they're so top heavy. They need monster games from the likes of Momaway and Abate to even keep themselves in games. Once they go to the bench, mapapaano ka na lang, mapapagoogle ka like, who the hell are these guys?
Sino yan?
Diba?
Land of opportunity.
Sa amin, Maui, tayong tatlo, we follow the UAAP intently for the whole year round. At even tayo who are these guys? Nasa surpresa tayo sa mga nilalaro ng UE. That's how crazy their off-season has been, how crazy bad it's been. They lost Maga, they lost Fikes. Not to mention the guys they lost to graduation in si Gerard Wilson, si Jack Cruz Dumont. They were playmakers for this team. They look rough, man. They look rough. They can get by if John Abate and Precious Mamaway just carry them. But otherwise, si Muling Tapang has underwhelmed. Si Lingo has big games. Sometimes he shoots like shit. There are times he shoots so hot. I don't understand. He's so inconsistent. But yeah, they're crazy shallow. I don't know half of their players. If we're ever gonna do a lock maybe or not, I'm not sure we can even complete a roster, to be honest. Kaya ang hirap, Maui. Promise, tingnan mo. Like, who the hell are they playing?
I agree. Maui, any honorable mention, baller or bolero, before we close the show?
Actually, ganda kasi lahat ng ballers and boleros ko na-mention except one na baller. I wanted UST, the season 87 rookie class is my boleros, and Earl Medina in the UP Fighting Maroons is my baller. I think one player that I want to shout out na is si Jacob Cortez. I've been really impressed.
We didn't mention Lasal at all.
We forgot about Lasal. Jacob
Cortez. Natalo lang sa Phil Oil, nakalimutan na natin. But yeah, I think si Jacob Cortez deserves a lot of praise from this off-season. I think a lot of people were questioning yung transition niya from the NCAA back to the UAAP, and I think he's a star for LaSalle. I think if there were any doubts, wala nang doubts ngayon with what he can bring to the table for LaSalle, and he's a very good case study. I talk about case studies before, and now we're talking about a star player from the NCAA transferring to the UAAP. Diba often we see players from the UAAP transfer to the NCAA and become stars. Maybe we can see other stars from the NCAA transfer to the UAAP more likely after we've seen Jacob Cortez. I wouldn't be surprised if that's gonna be the direction because of the new residency rule. So Jacob Cortez is a very good study and I'm impressed. Silang dalawa ni Mikey Cortez and it's good to see si Kulkat watching games again in the UAAP.
I'm glad you mentioned him because you know what I love about Jacob Cortez? Because every time he plays, nagkaka-flashback ako to his dad. That's how uncanny his game is similar to his dad. Sobrang grabe. Like, anong ginawa? Nag-training camp lang sila sa bahay their whole childhood. Si Mike
Probably.
Cortez just, di ba? Like, this is the moves you're gonna do on the court. Exactly. And you watch my film. This is how you're gonna play. It's freaking crazy. Actually, I didn't mention it. I had a lot of lists na di naman. But I did have Lasal as a minor bowler of the preseason. Now, yes, they lost their most recent game to the UP Fighting Maroons.
Mm-hmm.
But we do forget that was only, I think, their second loss of the entire preseason. They lost back in the Pinoy Liga Next Man Cup to EAC.
EAC,
I think
yeah.
In the semifinals na upset sila ni EJ Castillo and the EAC Generals. But for majority, they've been winning. And siguro may konting recency bias that they lost to UP. So parang, okay, we took him down a notch. But for the majority of the preseason, they've been balling. And Jacob Cortez has been much better than advertised. I've been so impressed. Him and Baclaan, actually, their chemistry together looks really good. I think they've been playing already for a year plus since they transferred last year. So obviously, all the games have taken effect on these two, and they're playing well together. So Lasal, I know. Wait and see if they can beat UP again because honestly, it's just the two of them battling for the title for this upcoming season. But they had a pretty good preseason. They started out rough, diba? I think we called them out. Well, I did. They weren't as sharp early on, but I think once they started to ramp up and the Cortez and Baclaan backcourt started to hum, they've just been smooth sailing, except when it came to that semifinals loss to UP.
Okay, that's it. That's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Let us know sino yung mga ballers and boleros nyo of the preseason. Comment them down below. Don't forget, since Maui's back, we asked him to prepare Giddy Up's power rankings. We'll do that soon. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.